Cord. Thank you so much, Joe, and welcome everyone to coaching. So proud of you for being here and taking the time. I know everyone's busy. There's probably a million things that you could be doing, right? So just wanted to thank you for joining me this morning. I'm going to jump right into it. So as the quote goes, changes are not permanent, but change is. I'll say that again. Changes aren't permanent, but change is. So we always have change. Our market is shifting again. Excuse me. We're seeing a little bit of tick up. Look, I don't have to bore you with statistics. We all know what's going on, I would hope, with the market. So what I want to address today are some of the things that are starting to reveal and their new challenges we're seeing with our buyer clients. So today is all about the buyer client. We're going to be on page 105. We'll start there. Of course, this is kind of the first tip of the day. Excuse me. So what's the first tip of the day in working with buyers? Big picture. What's at the top of that page, everybody? This is your time to talk. So what is it? What should we do with buyers? Generally speaking. So for those who don't have a manual, Wendy, go ahead and answer. You got the answer. I know you do. What's the answer?
What's the answer? Connection?
Yeah. Well, so inside the answer is buyer consultation meeting, and inside that meeting, we've got objectives. So if you're still finding yourself lead converting, you know, a buyer says, "I'm looking for this. You know, have you found it yet? I've got a couple things. Let me find them for you." We pull them up. Let's go look, you know, see what if you like them. And I think all that is pretty good. Because let's confess, we've been doing that for a long, long time. It's the way we get to know buyers. We find out what their needs are. We see if we can find them the right property. We go show it, and off we go. Okay. It's not bad. It's just, it could be a little better. It's missing the consultation meeting in which we can educate and explain, and there's a whole list there. Joe put the coaching manual in the chat there, so go ahead and open it up if you'd like, if you don't have one, if you're by a computer. So what are the things we do in a consultation meeting? Since there's a lot to cover today, I'm just going to read them really quickly. We look for, obviously, connection with the buyer, the commonality that, you know, we all have, being human, you know, families and backgrounds and interests and hobbies and things like that. We discover, we ask a lot of questions. We find out their why, their reason, you know, what's brought them to this point. We educate on the process. We talk about financing and the loan process, contract deadlines, and how we go from offer to move in, earnest money and requirements there, how we make offers to purchase. We tour property, we search for property. All of this is in the process of the buyer consultation meeting. Certainly, we want to talk about what's next. We want to lead through this presentation just like we do when we're in a listing or marketing presentation. So what's next? What are next steps? What's appropriate? So to fill in the blanks here on page 105, here, let me show you. Show screen. And I do want to show a statistical way to answer some of these questions that are going to come up that I pose in the email. But so when we're talking about, you know, educate each buyer on the process, and, you know, so where we are today and how do we get to move in and accomplish the objective. So there's what's first, what's next. Stress the importance of having an initial buyer consultation. So communicate that to your buyer, how important that is. This will provide an opportunity to educate on the process, to set proper expectations. So if you're going to fill these in, proper expectations, warnings and advice. So emphasis on the warnings. Remember, problem, solution, value. The warnings are the problems. And when we talk about that, you build value. Okay. So be prepared to have the buyer change their minds on their criteria. Of course, loan advice for us. it happens as they discover more about what they want in their search process. So then the next part of this is asking some questions like, what services do we provide buyers? What problems do we solve? Again, the service is what builds the value because it solves the problem. Okay. So grab your chat and let's just shotgun this really quick. Don't overthink it. Services we provide buyers. Just go. Light up everything you can think of about what we do for buyers. And we'll pick, I've got obviously, some answers to this, but I would love to see what you're thinking about. What services do we provide buyers? Okay, keep them coming. Thanks, Wendy and Shannon and Kimmy. Appreciate that. Show properties, find properties, provide data, knowledge, educate them. Okay, is there some guidance through all this? Great, keep it coming. Emotional support, ready to go. Yeah, well, maybe that's a little tongue in cheek, but it's there are folks who struggle with the change, and we're there to hold their hand. Yeah, market analysis, Bob, and everyone's concerned about paying too much. What's the data say? A lot of hand holding. All right, grab your favorites and put them on page 105. Let me add to it, okay? I think one of the look, you got the main thing right, and I think it's important that we talk about finding the right property, and we should memorize that and repeat that back. We help them find the right property. That's what they want. That's the objective, right? So we talk about that. That's the reason we do what we do. Find the right property. Let's put in construct offers, and prepare to compete and sometimes to win bids. So I think, you got to talk about sometimes winning the bid. We don't know in some price points right now, it's still very competitive. we could be up against other offers. So we do need to talk about how we win the bid. We gather property information, which you said, this lights our path. See, why do we gather property information? Because we don't want to overpay, and we want to understand the decisions that we're about to make. So in lighting their path, that's the reason that we gather property information. We navigate and conduct due diligence, navigate through due diligence, and so you explain what due diligence is. It's a lingo term, so you got to be very careful about things like that. You talk about the inspections. Ideally, I'm in a buyer consultation. Where do I turn? I go to the rep seat and I look at section 8, and I turn the contract around and I show them right in section 8.2. It says such as. Okay, like what would you inspect? Such as, and then it has a whole list. So ideally, you would show them that. Okay. Remember, if they don't understand the problem, then what good's the solution, and then what value do you have? Right. So we do have to slow down. We got to take a tour, right? Like Dorothy finds her way home, but we got to deal with the monkeys because there's going to be monkeys. Okay. Another one is we protect earnest money deposits. Okay, so you're going to be asked to put earnest money deposits down or in trust, and when you do, we want to try to protect that and make sure we don't lose money, in the whole process of searching for the right property. Okay. I think overall, the navigating, the holding hands, everything that we've said here, and educate. The reason we do that is to light their path so they make informed decisions and make the best decisions. Okay. So always put your reason behind why you do something. Okay. So you have a service, you say why it is, because the why is the benefit, and the benefit is the value. Let me just tell that pattern again. If you talk about something that you do, okay, that's not your value. Your value is the impact of what you do. Okay. So that's the benefit. So make sure you always translate benefit with what you do, because that's where the value is revealed. Okay, that's where the value is revealed. Okay, the next one is what problems do these services solve? And Bettina has already put that in the chat. We don't want to overpay. Overpaying could be a problem, so we want to get that right as best we can. Okay. So what problems do we solve? So we find the right home. We, hope to not overpay. We go in eyes wide open on condition issues. And we solve the problems along the way in condition issues. So I kind of tied two of those together in those 4 bullet points. Okay. Find right home, avoid overpaying, navigate through due diligence and the problems associated with that and negotiating around that. Okay. I kind of did, I didn't want to spend an awful lot of time on page 105, to be honest with you. I wanted to do more. I wanted to get into some more specific things that are related to our time right now. So let me show you something. So let's answer the first question of, should I buy right now? Okay. So what goes through your mind? Let me stop sharing for just a second. Let's chat. We'll come back to a shared screen. What goes through your mind when someone says, is it a good time to buy or should I buy right now? Any thoughts on that? Anybody want to share, like, where do you go when someone says, should I buy right now, or is now a good time to buy? What? Nobody wants to talk with me this morning? What's going on?
Hey, Will. I know that's,
Tammy.
sorry, I'm talking. This is instead of chatting, but I think interest rates are heading up. So that's one point for buyers to consider.
Yeah.
I think you have to get to know the buyer and what their position is and what their situation is to know the answer to that question.
Okay, good. Good. If we've done our discovery right, then we do know why they want to make a purchase, right? And that Wendy's saying, so we understand why. So, Scott says it depends on their needs. If you find the right property, Debbie says it's the right time. Because all of this speaks to solving the problem that the family has. It's either where they are is too small or too big, it's too far away or it's too close to something. The kids need something, or there are no kids. We're empty nesting, or we just had another child, and something's not working. So once we find out what that is, that's really what should be driving us. It's really important. This is the number one takeaway today. If you don't know this already, okay? It's number one takeaway. People don't buy residential real estate because of the timing of the investment. Okay, that's why you buy stocks and commercial property. Okay, you don't buy residential real estate for yourself because of a return on investment. Okay, so people buy residential real estate to solve the problems the family has. That's why they buy. So the market conditions only show us the obstacles to get where we're going to go. And every market's a little different. Okay, so it doesn't change why we do it. It just lights the path. So back to this question, should I buy? Is it right time to buy? Well, I think you should speak about the reason. I think matter of fact, remember Joe Lowry had an interesting saying about change. If I get it wrong, Joe, correct me. But the pain to stay the same has become greater than the pain to change. Am I getting that right, Joe?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so staying in their current situation is painful enough that they'd rather go through the pain of change. Okay, so I think that's where you have to. That's a family decision on how they want to approach, their next chapter. Okay, so we focus on that, but I think there's more. Let's go to this. Share screen. You guys having fun so far?
Woohoo.
Isn't this so fun? Okay, I'm on the utahrealestate.com statistics, and I want to go sales per month. I love this report because I can go area. So I'm just going to do single family home. It already has going back to 2017. And if it's okay with you guys, you can pick a lot of these different counties, but hey, I'm going to pick my new favorite county. Anyone want to guess? What's my new favorite county that's on
That
this
would be
list?
Kane, that would be Kane County.
That's right, Roxanne. It's Kane County.
Yay, Kane County.
Welcome, Roxanne. I didn't realize you were on. I am so excited that you're on. Yeah, that'd be Kane County, folks. Let's see. I don't know how much data I'm going to have on WFR for Kane County, but so we'll just default to Salt Lake, and let me just show you how you do this. So whether it's this MLS or not, what we're looking here is to further answer the question of what happens with property values over time, because that's really what they're asking. Am I going to buy something that will depreciate? Okay. Well, I'd rather show them than tell them. Okay. Now, but I can go coordinates on this. So I could go by neighborhood. So I love that I could just grab a neighborhood if I want to, or I can stay real general and talk about, the county. But I could grab like Willow Creek subdivision. I could just put in those coordinates and see a history of what's gone on in this market in that area. Okay. So single family, I'm not choosing a style. I just did Salt Lake County. And there's no area. So I'm just going to go ahead and review the results. It's going to take a minute, and it's going to come up in two ways. It's going to give me a table. I really want the graph, actually. Let me run that as a graph. Let's run it as a graph. Okay. I mean, I'm tempted to give you like the simple answer here. I'm sure there's times inside of a discussion that where the simple answer is needed, but we're our own worst enemies with this stuff. We make it look so easy. We make it too simple. And by removing the complexity, we remove solution and value. And that's the problem. Okay. So what I want to do is I don't need days on market. I do need sold count. Really don't need volume. I don't need percent to sell. And I don't need median sold price. So I probably could just go like this and use these two graphs, which are kind of the same, but all right. So let's go and let's talk about the question was, is it a good time to buy? Okay, well, there's our graph. And in 2017, here we were. Anyone want to take a guess at where we were when the last time we got asked this question?
Mhm.
When was the last time we got asked this question? Should I buy? Is it a good time to buy? So it was probably COVID. So we'd go back about, let's see, wasn't that right here? So everybody says, well, is it a good time to buy? There were about 8 weeks where we wondered if it was a good time to buy. If you're interested in the appreciation, I think that obvious answer is yes. But I could go back further. You want to go back further here? Let's go back before the last recession and run this now. I hope you can kind of see what I'm getting at. Let this run. Oh, it's going back in the archives. The satellites are linking up. What will it say? Were prices higher in 2006 and 7 before the recession? Okay, got to get rid of all this stuff here. Okay, there we are, 2007. So from 2007 to 2012, we went down. So I'm just curious, do you think during all of these sales that buyers said, is it a good time to buy? And there for a while, their properties went down a smidge, didn't they? I mean, we bottomed out at 180, it looks like, 175, trying to hover there. and we started off at 235. So 235 down to 175. How many of you would love to own a few pieces of property that you bought back in 08, 9, 10, 11, and 12? Anybody? Now, if you moved your family in to a property in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you stayed there 10 years, how are you looking? So if we went from 07 to 17, how are we looking? Well, we went from an average of 235 up to about 275. Gained $50,000 in equity. If you want to go through this process for your, let me stop sharing. Okay, look, some of your personality is very analytical. So go ahead and jump on the MLS and do some statistical data that shows that over time, real estate properties are going to appreciate. How long will you intend to be in the property? So for anyone who says, well, I may be transferred, or, I might be, I may only be here for a little bit. I just stuck my finger in my yogurt. Gosh, I got yogurt on my desk. I'm trying to clean. I stick my finger in my yogurt. That's still good. Sorry, I'm not just like, hey, Will's licking his finger. Anyway, I know I entertain myself, guys. Really, that's just what happens. I was a latchkey kid. You guys know what that term is? I came home and both parents were working. So, there was no supervision. You had to entertain yourself. And see, it serves well today. Anyway, so I think what you have to do is you can show this to analytical people, the data that supports this, and over time, residential real estate appreciates. I think a lot of us would love to own some property based on the average sales prices of the downturn, right? So I think it's just important to hang on to it. If I do get someone who's only going to work or live in Salt Lake City for a short period of time, I just don't have a crystal ball. And what we're seeing still is appreciation, just not at the same rate, right? So and you got to explain the difference in the supply and demand that we had in 07, 8, 9, 10, 11 versus today. Okay, and I know that's being echoed and repeated over and over again. So the two tips here so far are: always remember the reason that a family or an individual makes a residential real estate purchase, number one. Two, if you have an analytical person, then you can analyze the data over time and talk about appreciation over time. And I'm not predicting any depreciation of any price point right now in any market that we work in. Nobody is, okay? But if you want to put their fears to rest a little, show them the data. It might help them feel a little bit more comfortable. Okay, any comments on that? No? Yes?
Just one comment, Will?
Yeah, Bettina, thank you.
Sure. Unemployment is fantastic in Utah.
Yep.
Are there pieces out there that talk about the fact that we're number one in unemployment and that housing does usually follow unemployment?
Yes. Matter of fact, wasn't it just, look, oh, the political stuff, sorry. Okay, I'll keep it unpolitical, but KSL ran an article, let's just see, it says, the heading on KSL, I got it pulled up here, you guys can see that? Is that?
Yes.
You can see it? Okay, so what Biden's White House says it has done for Utah's economy. So here is the statistic that the state of Utah confirms. The state's unemployment rate fell from 3.3% in January of 2021 to 1.9 in April of 2022. 1.9, 2022, April. That is the lowest unemployment rate on record. So let me add, I think you guys know this, but I think you just watch the job market and the real estate market is locked arms with the job market. I mean, the more people we have employed, the more people who can afford mortgages and home payments and housing costs. And when unemployment rises, then real estate does step back. Clearly, there's a little bit of a banter here. Our governor, look, you guys can read the article if you want to. It was yesterday, KSL, but that was the recent economic report from I guess, the Department of Commerce at the state of Utah. So that's pretty impressive. It's the lowest in the nation. So Utah's just a great place to invest. And, you know, if you want to own real estate here, it's a good place to own real estate. I mean, we could go up another couple of points in unemployment and still not feel it, you know? So really impressive. Any other comments on that? Cami, maybe we could, I mean, I guess I could, is there a way to, let's see, do I share this? How do I share this thing? Oh, here we go. Share. Yeah, I'll share it. I'll email it out to everybody. Yeah, it's interesting. You gotta pull, depending on whatever your political, you know, thing is. Clearly, Governor Cox does not agree with the Biden administration. Biden administration is trying to take some credit for some things. Look, you guys could figure all that stuff out, but there are some good facts in it. Okay. So some of this discussion today, so I'm going to pivot to, you know, what other creative things are we going to have to do now that's going on? What are you guys seeing as problems that are starting to come up as we shift and change into a market that has a little bit more inventory? We're seeing a little longer days on market. We're not seeing quite as many multiple offers. We have rising interest rates. So what's the, hey, thanks, Doug, for doing that. Appreciate it. Yeah, okay, so like anything else, seller expectations, what else?
I think that's the hardest part. When you're listing something, everybody thinks that they have $1 million home now. And so it's very hard to get your sellers to become realistic as far as pricing, especially when the comparables are showing that much higher if you go back 3 months even. And so everybody wants, you know, 1.2 for their house.
Yeah,
Nice.
we get the, well, my neighbor's house sold for this much 2 weeks ago. And then you're like, oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah. You're both really right. I think managing expectations for our sellers is the same for our buyers, managing expectation. This is why it's so important to have this buyer consultation meeting and break the bad habit of just converting the lead and showing the next property. Remember that there's a really nice benefit for all of us about having buyer consultation meetings, and that is we show value of our BAC. Okay. That way, if a listing happens to have a 2% or 2.5%, and we need to make up the difference, then we've already had this discussion about your value, right? Okay. So managing our expectations can be done a number of different ways, but I think a lot of times you're going to be talking about data and statistics. And remember, Jake Breen in our sales meeting said we kind of blew by, you know, the peak of the market, you know, the tip, I guess, of the summit there, and that was probably 3 or 4 months ago. It's when interest rates had not yet climbed up into the 4s, so we were still in the 3s, and we still had, you know, massive appreciation. Let me throw something else for you guys to think about. What is inflation doing to real estate? What do you think inflation is doing to real estate?
Well, it's definitely stopped buyers from coming that don't want to, pay for gas to drive across the country to go to Kanab. I also think that the interest rates are keeping people, especially our buyers that are first home buyers. And so we have a little couple that are looking for a home, and they bought their last home at $1.50 or 150 a square foot. And they've offered every single home 150 a square foot. And of course, they can't figure out why they're not getting a house.
Yeah. So, well,
Buyers'
sometimes-
expectations also.
right. There was a
I have-
saying that even when the market was hot and we were competing against other offers, that buyers had to kind of skin their knees a little bit. And then they figured out, okay, that doesn't work, but we probably still have that going on to some degree, where, their prices are not quite in line. So maybe data helps show that. But absent of some personalities are just wired that way, and you're not really going to change it much. But generally speaking, I think what we provide to that is helping manage the expectation by showing data and making sense of the data. So we're back to this inflation on real estate question. Anyone want to weigh in on that? Inflation on real estate?
I think it's changed where people are looking. People who would maybe look in Saratoga Springs because they didn't mind the drive. Now they're like, oh wait, gas is close to $5 a gallon. I don't want to drive anymore. So.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe distance is going to be an issue. We brought that up in our sales meeting discussion. The counter to that, which is just an interesting thing to think about, is those who can work from home and have been working from home. These outlying areas became very, very attractive because there was so much flexibility about where they work. So it was the, work where you play. And boy, was that a nice ring to Utah. In all of our markets, work where you play. And so, we didn't have to commute. So anybody else, so inflation's effect on real estate?
Hey, Will, interest
Yeah.
rates and inflation, I think, are affecting buying power, right? If everything costs more and interest rates are higher, then your dollar doesn't go as far, and it's reducing buying power.
Yeah, no question about it. The buyer pools are shifting downward, that's what's slowing appreciation. And that was its intent. The interest rates was definitely the intent to slow the inflation of real estate prices. So how do we talk through that with buyers? What are some of the things that we can say to buyers about that? Their dollar's not going as far. They're paying a little bit more in their payment. How do you want to address this? Come on, you top. Yes,
Will,
go.
one of my thoughts that I've been talking to buyers about is, how long do you plan to be in your home? What's your kind of short-term, long-term goals? And if they say, well, we just, there's a chance we're only going to be here for 3, 4, 5 years, then I say, talk to your lender about a short-term, like a 5-year ARM. Those interest rates are I've seen them below 4%. So it could be a strategy for some buyers to do an ARM and then either plan to sell in before that ARM is up, or they hope that interest rates will go back down and they can refinance within 5 years. And they
Really good.
regain some buying power.
Yep, really good advice, guys. I hope you're taking notes on that. I think those are two things to talk about. We can rate lock also is another tool to use when we're talking about interest rates. Lately, we've heard that interest rates have stabilized. This is just lately, the forecast is they probably will go up, say 6 months from now. So it's going to become more, it's going to become less affordable and more expensive in 6 months from now. So perhaps that's an incentive too, and a perspective to consider. You can also buy buy down, your rates and make an investment initially if you're going to live in the property longer. So back to our discovering part of our buyer consultation, how long are you going to be in the home? And the longer that is, maybe we ought to buy the rate down, and that may over time. Just grab your calculator, do the math. I mean, how much does it cost to buy it down? How much is it saving you per month? And how long does it take to recoup that? There are times where, there have been a few times I've done this and you're like, gosh, we don't break even for 6.5 years. Okay, so then you say, are you going to be in the property for more than 6.5 years? And if they're like, no, absolutely, absolutely we will. Well, and if rates don't go down, because you could always refinance. And there is some speculation around that in a few years from now, rates are going to swing back down, but they've been such historically low. Who knows about all of that, right? But these are some of the things you can talk through and work with our lender partners to have a solution they're comfortable with.
Oh, excuse me. Linda.
Go ahead, Linda.
So I was just going to say that I think linking up with your lender and pulling them into that conversation, because that's their expertise. I've done that. I've been in a home and, the husband and wife have gone back and forth. And I said, let's just get the lender on the phone. And that's how we ended up getting them into a home. They just shifted their focus a little bit as to what they were going to do to get into a home.
Right.
And they've had somebody else do that as well. And they've ended up going up in price point because they teamed up with a family member.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. Look, we've always talked about how important it is since 30 years of my real estate career, how important it is to get the buyer with the lender. But here's what's different. It's the reason that we get the buyer with the lender is changed. So you got to talk about that right now. Before it was, let's just get you pre-qualified, and then during the hot market, we had to vet buyers, even on the listing side. That was a new thing for listing agents, vetting buyers before you got into contract with a buyer that may not be the best buyer. Even on paper, it looked good, but you had to really vet them. Now, what is it? It's about now. This is about protecting the budget and understanding the budget of the buyer and having that correlate with where we're shopping. And because we've got a moving target right now, so this is what we talk about with buyers. We have a moving target on your loan and mortgage side of things. What's my job? Help you navigate that. Really important that you understand so we can save you some money. These are the things we talk about, right? All good stuff. That was the third thing that I wanted to talk about today, is the creative ways in which we can overcome and put people at ease about the costs. We missed something here. The impact of inflation on real estate. No one has said the number one answer. What is the impact of inflation on real estate?
Appreciation.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Fran. So it's kind of the medication for what ails you, right? When you're talking about your portfolio and everything that makes up your wealth and managing wealth over time, the owning of real estate is a way to hedge against inflation. So, this is why it's important to own property and get tenants out of landlord situations and into ownership, because over time, it's such a great investment for them. And so if inflation is going to continue, then owning real estate is going to be a good place to put money, right? Even when the costs of the interest to carry have increased, we are still combating the negative forces of inflation. Everybody got that? Okay, so I hope these are some good talking points. Okay. Anybody else have something to weigh in? Yeah, go ahead.
So yesterday I had a closing, and we had Metro Mountain Mortgage with Tim there in the closing. And even though my client was
had sticker shock from the higher interest rate. The conversation that Tim had with my client is, our plan is to work on getting your FICO score up higher so that we can refinance and drop your mortgage insurance and, and carve off some of your mortgage payments. So we'll work on that in the next 6 months. And then he sat there and calculated the potential interest write-off on her tax return for her this coming year for 6 months. And she was like blown away. And I don't think a lot of lenders do that at a closing, but it was very impressive. And it really gave my client some peace of mind paying that higher interest rate.
Very good, Jill. I really appreciate that. Thanks for weighing in. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Anybody have anything else before I turn the channel? Anything else you want to add to the group? Most of the time in these coaching sessions, the biggest takeaways are what you guys provide. So please feel free to share your ideas. We've only got about 10 more minutes. Anybody else?
Well, I think it's really important for us to be positive with our buyers. 4% is a great interest rate. If you've ever bought a home at 11 or 13, it's an amazing interest rate. And I remember when it hit 4 that it was like, wow, that's great. We may not see the 2% again. And so I think educating them, just like you've been talking, that from an investment standpoint, this is where you're at. And that right now we're seeing prices drop a little bit, but it's such an education process. And I love that you say, talk to the lender, because they are the ones that are going to be giving them the actual facts in all of this. But still, I think coming into with a positive attitude, and that 4% is still great. Just sold a little condo unit to some kids, and their first interest rate was 2.3, and they're dying at 4%, but they were still able to get their home, and they're super excited. So I think it's a matter of being really positive about where we're at right now too.
I couldn't agree
Amen.
more. Yeah. Perfect, Roxanne. By the way, I hope everyone knows Roxanne that you see here on the screen. She is our broker in Kanab, and new members of the family. And I think, did I see Ebby is on?
Ebby's with us.
Okay. Hi, Ebby. How are you?
Hi.
Oh, you're there too in the same.
I'm here. Hello.
Okay. Glad to have you. Do we have anybody else from Kanab?
Just the cool kids.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Well, man, I'm so glad that you guys are part of the Brookshire family. Warms my heart to expand with such good people. So
yeah, we're already seeing a benefit, so it's awesome.
That's great. That's great. By the way, just Tyler Richardson, who is one of our agents, lifelong agent in Park City, son of Peg Marty, who was a 50-year real estate gal. She passed away last year. But anyway, Tyler is a big Lake Powell lover, and he's going to be driving through town. And if you guys are on your way to Lake Powell, you probably would go through Kanab. Anyway, don't be afraid to stop and say hi to the new family there. So, and for all you Jeepers and Moab lovers, don't forget to stop and see our Moab office too. So anyway, these are great places. I'm telling you, every time I'm there, I don't want to leave. Talk about live where you work and play. Yeah. And Rachel keeps, she goes, yeah, I know you love your place in Hurricane, and I do, but I would really love a place in Moab too. So anyway, we
have one for sale for you.
Do you?
Yeah.
Awesome. And I don't want to leave out Logan in Idaho. I'll actually be up in Idaho for a live in-person meeting on Friday. We haven't had one yet for our Idaho, so it's a big deal. Driving up to Idaho to have an in-person sales meeting. So I love covering this whole state, you guys. Beautiful landscapes and amazing people that we have in this family. I guess I'll plug something here. It means so much to all of us, doesn't it, when we get a referral from our own agents inside of our family? It means an awful lot. So think about that when you're talking to people. If you know anyone in any of these areas, all of our agents are thrilled to accept a referral from any of us. So that's kind of the reason we're doing this, is to expand our footprint, to take advantage of the networking power that we have with each other. So anyway, yeah, it's a great time to buy in Moab, as Rachel says there. Okay, so let me put a bow on this, I guess. Maybe we'll wrap up a little bit earlier instead of pivoting to all the data. Hold on, guys. Let me just look at my notes here. Don't go nowhere yet. Make sure I got it all. There is there's 2 pages in the manual about working with buyers in consultation meetings. One was on 105 and the other one's on 119. Please review that. I'll probably repeat it a few times. I've been certainly beating this drum for years about stopping the lead conversion long enough. There's a class action lawsuit against NAR and top real estate companies about the BAC and the value of the BAC. And they're suggesting that buyers would not pay that amount if they were the ones deciding what it is. And, you know, they kind of make a point, don't they? Except for the fact that they think they won't pay it. Okay. Now, you think they won't pay it. That means what happens if BACs and buyer agency and representation just went away? They said, no, we don't want that. Oh, well then, what do we want? Well, we want great professional agents providing a high level of service. For us, the only way we justify 3% BAC is showing problem, solution, and value. Problem, solution, value. But if you don't stop long enough to show and educate on what the problems are and the complexities are, then there is no solution and there is no value. So certainly we're from a reverse point of view, there's a reason to justify BAC this way. But the higher order bit is to help them make their own informed decisions. And there's just so much going on in a buyer purchase that we make it look too easy. We're our own worst enemies on this. We just don't talk about it, and we do the work behind the scenes. And you guys are so good at it that sometimes it is hard for people to justify a 3% fee. Okay, so in my mind, if I treated the buyer like I do sellers who are paying the fee, can you how do I get a 6% listing without having a marketing or listing presentation? Well, I don't, right? Well, then why would we do that with buyers? I mean, aren't they inadvertently paying it in the sales price? Well, of course they are, right? They're paying a sales price, and in that sales price, there's the BAC. So we owe it to them to explain how we earn our keep, right? So there's a lot to that. I'm pleading with you to make sure that you always have buyer consultation meetings. It'll be one of the best things you do for your career. Okay. I'm going to put a bow on I'm just kind of wrapping all this up. Yesterday, I was talking to Jill Stringham, and this has come up a few times. And I just wanted to separate 2 different ideas about something. I mean, how many are on this call right now? I think we had about 50. I get long-winded and folks drop off. Let's see. Okay. Answer me this. Why don't we do what we know we should? So I think when our minds do this, we go, well, you're asking me why I don't, and then you come up with all the reasons why we don't. And really, that's not kind of what I'm asking. I'm asking, what's the difference in knowing what to do and doing what you know you should? And maybe that's where the light should be. What I hope here is that we find the disciplines and consistency necessary to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish. There's a lot of people out there that need our help. And we've got to be disciplined enough on a daily basis to go find them. And I don't like the word prospecting because it's taken from, I want to be rich and find gold. And that's where the word came from, prospectors. And, it's not about that. It's not about you getting what you want. It's about you being more fulfilled and happy because you're helping other people get what they want. And then the money will happen. But you have to go put your shoes on and you have to go run. You're going to have to lace them up. We can know what to do and then not do it. And I think we just have to get committed to the disciplines on a daily basis. And if you fall off the pattern of consistency, you know what, look, don't be so hard on yourself. Just get back on, like there are no one-day diets. And you can't be one day of great finding or prospecting and then have all the business you want, right? So it's just a consistency thing. I think it's a lifestyle change that, we get our, we get our routines down, and the first routine is how you spend your morning, So I think sometimes you're right, Rachel, there is a fear of success, and that can hold us back. Leave some space to do some things you've never done. I guess it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got really recommitted to, okay, so confession. All right, for those who are hanging on for the last little bit here, confession. I've been kind of sick, for like 2 or 3 months, stupid cough. I couldn't run. And if I can't run, I'm just not me. Well, there was a moment I was in my head like, well, maybe I'm just not a runner anymore, like I'm getting older and, maybe I'm just not. I'm gonna have to be a biker or something, or a walker, something, but I'm not gonna be a runner. And I was in my head about this. And when I started to feel a little bit better and, kind of the real, I don't know, me started to come out like, no, I am a runner. That's what I am. That's what I do. So freak, I bought myself some new shoes that were too expensive. Gave an excuse to go use them. And I started running and I made a commitment I would run every single day. And even on Sunday morning, I go for a very, very short, what I'll call a kind of a spiritual reset run, where I'm listening to some really good content that day. But I've done it, guys. And I'm now on day 16. So it reminds me about bowling and how when you go strike, 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 it keeps compounding, And if you went strike, spare, you don't get the benefit of the compounding equation and the scoring. So get your consistency to at least be 3 in 1 week, 3 of something in 1 week, and you'll start to build your momentum and consistency, and the results will start to happen, and you'll be happier and more fulfilled. Write your own chapters of your life. It's your words, it's your book. No one else can write it. So you make the decision. And after you've done that, that's knowing what to do. Remember, you have to be disciplined about doing what you know you should. And there's a big difference there. We could write books would be easier on what to do, and the difference in doing it. Yeah, new shoes definitely inspire us. I don't have more shoes than my wife. I don't think that's possible, but she also believes that a new pair of shoes is, some connection to happiness. And so I'm not going to argue with that. So, I've got like 8 pairs of shoes total, including like snow boots or something. Anyway, please own your discipline and your consistency, and things will be great for you. More than anything, it's not about helping people, not about what you want. It's about helping other people get what they want, and you'll be happy and fulfilled in that journey. And I wish you well in being consistent. You can. It's in you. There's nothing you can't do and nothing you can't learn. And your mom was right? Nothing you can't do if you set your mind to it. It's the miracle wasn't just that mom told you. I think that was part of the miracle. The other bigger piece of the miracle is whether we choose to believe that. and then take that belief into action. So I thank my lucky stars every day that I believed my mother when she said, son, there's nothing you can do, nothing you can't do if you set your mind to it. I did believe her, and I'm grateful for that. I hope you believe me today and believe what your mom said. You can do anything you set your mind to. Thanks for joining me for coaching this morning, guys. I love you all. It's sincere, it's real. Call me anytime you need help, and happy to help you anytime.